My name is Lauren Mitchell. I am 33 years old, and the night my family mocked me at dinner, shoving me out of my own seat, was the night everything changed forever. The dining room smelled of roasted turkey, garlic bread, and Mom's wine that always flowed more generously for my brother's wife than for me. The laughter at the long mahogany table wasn't mine, it was theirs. Sharp, pointed, dripping with mockery. I had barely pulled out my chair when my sister-in-law, Tiffany, slid gracefully into it. Her silk dress shimmered under the chandelier, her smug smile daring me to protest. My mother chuckled. "Lauren dear, you don't mind sitting on the side, do you? That seat suits Tiffany better." The words slashed deeper than any blade. My father avoided my eyes, cutting his steak as if nothing had happened. My brother smirked, whispering something into Tiffany's ear that made her laugh louder. Me. I swallowed the lump in my throat, my face burning as if the entire table was lit on fire. If you're watching this, drop a comment, hit like and subscribe, because I need to know I'm not alone when I tell you what happened that night. You see, my family always had a way of reminding me that I was the outsider. Growing up, my brother Ryan was the golden child, football star, straight teeth, scholarships. Me. I was the girl who stayed in her room writing stories no one read. When Dad lost his job years ago, I was the one who worked 2 shifts at the diner to help cover bills. But the moment Ryan married Tiffany, it was like I vanished. Tiffany was polished. Tiffany was wealthy. Tiffany belonged. I sat at the far end of the table, barely balancing my plate as they laughed over Tiffany's vacation photos from Greece. "Lauren," Tiffany said sweetly, her eyes glinting with cruelty, "you should try traveling more." "Oh wait, can you even afford a plane ticket?" The table erupted in laughter. My stomach twisted. And in that moment, a memory surged. Me at 17 working late nights, tucking cash into a coffee tin to help pay the mortgage. My parents never said thank you. They just told me, family sacrifices together. But now I wasn't family enough for a chair at the table. I stood slowly, pushing back the chair that screeched against the floorboards. My heart pounded. "Excuse me," I whispered, my voice shaking but steady enough to silence the room. I walked toward the door, their laughter chasing me like ghosts. And then his voice cut through it all. "Lauren, sit down." It was Grandpa. His tone carried weight. Commanding. The kind of voice that silences storms. The room froze. He rose from his chair, his hand trembling but his eyes burning with fire. "Actually," he said, looking at everyone but me, "she owns this house." The silence after Grandpa's words was louder than the laughter had been. Forks clinked against plates. Chairs scraped as if no one knew whether to sit straighter or shrink smaller. My mother's wine glass trembled in her hand. What? Ryan's voice cracked like a teenage boy's, though he was 35 and smug a second ago. Grandpa pushed his chair back, slowly, deliberately. His cane tapped against the hardwood as he stood. Every movement carried authority, like a judge delivering a verdict. He pointed the cane, not at me but at my parents. "You heard me. Lauren owns this house." Tiffany's glossy smile faltered. Her fork slipped, clattering against the china. For the first time since she married my brother, she looked unsure. My father cleared his throat, his jaw tightening as if trying to hold back words that might betray him. "Dad, what are you talking about?" my mother asked, her tone sharp, almost accusing. "We've lived here for decades. This house has always belonged to the family." Grandpa's eyes darkened. "Exactly. To the family. But you conveniently forgot who held this family together when it nearly collapsed." His words slammed into me like thunder. A flash from the past hit me. The night I found Dad pacing the living room muttering about foreclosure. Mom crying over stacks of unpaid bills. Me slipping my entire savings, my college fund, onto the table. "Take it," I had whispered, hands trembling. "Just don't lose the house." And they had taken it. They had promised to pay me back. But they never did. "You signed it over," Grandpa continued, voice heavy. "Lauren saved this place with her own money. Her name is on the deed." The memory seared. I was 19 when I stood in the county clerk's office, my name scribbled shakily beside theirs. They told me it was temporary. That once we got back on our feet they'd fix it. But they never did. Ryan's eyes darted between Mom and Dad, confusion giving way to panic. "Wait, you mean Lauren actually owns the house?" "Yes," Grandpa said firmly. "Every brick, every nail. She sacrificed when no one else would. Don't you dare forget it. The air felt thick like the walls themselves were closing in on them. Tiffany leaned back, crossing her arms, her face pale. She no longer looked like the queen of the table. She looked like someone realizing she'd been eating dinner in a stranger's house. My heart pounded in my chest. For years I'd carried the weight of being dismissed, belittled, erased. And now with a single sentence Grandpa had ripped the mask off. But this was just the beginning. Because exposing the truth was one thing. Living in it, that was another battle entirely. The table that once rang with smug laughter now sat in suffocating silence. Even the ticking clock on the wall sounded louder than breathing. I could feel every eye on me waiting, judging, measuring how I would react. But for the first time in years I didn't shrink. I lifted my chin, feeling heat rise to my cheeks, but this time it wasn't shame, it was fury. Grandpa's right, I said, my voice trembling but resolute. This house is mine. You all knew it. You just never wanted to admit it. My mother slammed her wine glass down, red liquid spilling across the white tablecloth. Don't be ridiculous, Lauren. You were a child. You don't understand the paperwork you signed. Her words sliced through me, dragging me backward in time, back to the night she shoved the deed in front of me, her hands shaking, her voice brittle. Sign it, sweetheart. You'll be protecting us all. I remembered how proud I felt, how honored, like I was saving us. But later, when the lights went out in my bedroom and I heard them whispering, it stung. She's young, she won't question. She owes us. Ryan leaned forward, his face darkening. So what, Lauren? You think one desperate move as a teenager makes you queen of the castle now? This is a family home. Tiffany and I plan to raise our kids here. His entitlement was staggering. My fists clenched under the table. Funny, I shot back. Because when I was paying off Mom and Dad's mortgage while working double shifts at the diner, none of you called it family sacrifice. You called it my duty. Grandpa's cane slammed against the floor. Enough. His voice thundered, silencing even my mother. His weathered eyes locked on Ryan. You will not belittle her. If not for Lauren, this roof would have crumbled over your heads. Tiffany's voice slithered through the tension. Well, if Lauren owns the house, then maybe it's time she learned how to be gracious. Ownership isn't everything. Family is about sharing, isn't it? I turned my gaze on her, my lips curling into something between a smile and a snarl. You mean the way you shared my chair tonight? Her face flushed crimson. For years I had been silent. But tonight the silence broke like glass. The dinner plates grew cold, untouched, while the truth sat steaming in the center of the table. And I realized, this wasn't about a chair anymore. This was about every dismissal, every insult, every time they pushed me aside as though I didn't belong. And I was done being quiet. But I had no idea how far Tiffany was willing to go to protect the illusion of her throne. The chandelier above flickered faintly, shadows trembling across the walls like nervous witnesses to our unraveling. Tiffany dabbed her lips with her napkin, trying to mask the storm brewing in her eyes. She wasn't used to losing ground, especially not to me. Honestly, Lauren, she said coolly, it feels childish to cling to some old paperwork. Houses are meant to be lived in, not wielded like weapons. You're 33, shouldn't you be thinking about settling down instead of playing landlord? Her words were sugar-coated poison. And for a moment I almost laughed. Because all my life, Tiffany had tried to make me feel small. Her manicured nails pointing out my thrift store dress, her polished heels clicking judgment down every hallway. And here she was in my house lecturing me about growing up. I'm not wielding anything, I replied, my voice steady. I'm reminding you and everyone that I earned what you all tried to erase. Grandpa's nod was slow, deliberate. She did more than earn it. She bled for this family. The room tightened. My father's jaw flexed. My mother avoided my eyes, focusing on blotting the wine stain from the tablecloth like it was the only thing that mattered. Ryan leaned back, his chair creaking under his weight. So what now, Lauren? You gonna kick us out? Parade around like queen of the house? The memory slammed me. Me at 20, stumbling home from the diner past midnight, aching feet blistered, only to find Ryan sprawled on the couch playing video games, Tiffany feeding him chips like royalty. They never worked a day to save this place. But I did. You want to know what now? I said, leaning forward, my hands gripping the edge of the table. Now you all start treating me like I exist. Like I matter. Or maybe you don't live here at all. Gasps rose around the table. Even I was startled by my own words. Tiffany's eyes narrowed to icy slits. You wouldn't dare. But her voice wavered. Just slightly. Grandpa's cane rapped once against the floor, sealing my declaration like a judge striking the gavel. She doesn't need to dare, he said softly. She already holds the power. You'd all be wise not to forget it. I looked at Tiffany, then really looked. Beneath the gloss and glitter I saw fear. She wasn't mocking me anymore. She was calculating. And that, somehow, was more dangerous than her laughter. Because Tiffany was the kind of woman who, when cornered, wouldn't fight fair. And deep down I knew she wasn't finished. Dinner had dissolved into a battlefield of silence. No one reached for the mashed potatoes or the gravy boat anymore. The food cooled untouched while the air thickened with tension. Tiffany leaned back in her chair, her manicured fingers tracing the rim of her wine glass. Her smile returned, but it wasn't warmth. It was strategy. Well, she said lightly, if Lauren owns the house, then surely she can prove it. Words are easy. Paperwork is harder. Her voice carried across the table like a blade wrapped in velvet. I felt my pulse quicken. The deed's in the safe. Grandpa knows it. I know it. If you want to see proof, we can go look right now. Ryan's chair screeched as he stood. Let's. His face was flushed, his pride wounded. Because I don't buy this nonsense for a second. Sit down, Ryan, Grandpa barked, his cane pointing like a weapon. Ryan froze. He might mock me, but even he wouldn't defy Grandpa's authority outright. My father cleared his throat. This isn't the time. It's Thanksgiving dinner. We don't need to dredge up paperwork. But I caught the flicker in his eyes. Panic. He knew the papers existed. He just never expected me to call them out. Memories slammed into me. Nights when I went hungry because I chose to cover the electric bill instead of buying groceries for myself. Days when classmates whispered about my hand-me-down clothes, while Ryan strutted in brand-new sneakers. I swallowed hard, forcing my voice steady. You don't get to erase my sacrifices just because they're inconvenient now. Tiffany's smile faltered, but only for a second. Sacrifices, she repeated, her voice dripping with disbelief. Please. You're acting like you carried the whole family on your back. Grandpa slammed his palm on the table, silverware rattling. She did. His eyes burned. Every late-night shift, every dollar she scraped together. She kept this roof above your heads when the bank was ready to take it. Don't you dare belittle her. The room fell into silence again. Tiffany's face stiffened, but I noticed her knuckles whitening against her wine glass. She wasn't used to losing control. And that's when it hit me, this wasn't about family anymore. For Tiffany, this was about power. She wasn't going to sit quietly while I claimed it. I looked around the table, at my parents who refused to meet my eyes, at Ryan fuming, at Tiffany calculating, at Grandpa steady as stone. The truth was out. But truth alone wouldn't protect me. Because Tiffany's smirk told me something terrifying. She was already planning her next move. The storm outside rattled against the windows, wind whistling like a warning. Inside the storm was Tiffany. She sat perfectly still, her back straight, her face calm, but her eyes. Those eyes were calculating every angle. You know what I think? She said finally, her voice smooth as silk. I think Lauren's been holding on to this story for years, waiting for the perfect chance to play hero. But if she really owns this house, then why hasn't she ever acted like it? Her words dug sharp claws into me. And for a second I wavered. He was right. I had spent years shrinking, keeping quiet, letting them belittle me. But silence wasn't weakness. It was survival. I didn't act like it, I said slowly, because I thought family meant more than property. I thought protecting this house was enough. I thought you'd remember what I gave up. But all you remembered was how easy it was to take advantage of me. Ryan scoffed, pushing back his chair. This is ridiculous. You can't just waltz in and claim authority because you signed something when you were 19. We're a family. Decisions should be made together. Together. I snapped, my voice rising. Where was together when I was slaving at the diner while you partied at college on Dad's dime? Where was together when Tiffany started treating me like a servant at my own dinner table? The words came out raw, searing. The table went still. I caught Grandpa watching me, pride flickering in his tired eyes. About time, he murmured almost to himself. But Tiffany wasn't finished. Her voice cut through like glass. Maybe Lauren's right. Maybe she does own the house. But that doesn't mean she can run it. She doesn't know the first thing about hosting, about tradition, about carrying the Mitchell name forward. It wasn't just an attack. It was a performance aimed at my parents. And I could see it working. The way my mother's lips pressed together, the way Dad's hand tightened around his fork. Tiffany had wormed her way into their pride, their vanity. I took a breath, steadying myself. You don't need to worry about tradition, Tiffany, I said softly. Because from now on things will be different. I won't be invisible in my own house anymore. The words hung heavy in the air. Tiffany's smile sharpened. Then I suppose we'll just have to see how long you last when the gloves come off. Her threat was hidden behind a grin. But I felt it. I felt the storm gathering. And I knew, this fight had only just begun. The rain outside turned into a downpour, pounding the roof like a drumbeat of war. Inside, the air was thick with something far more dangerous, unspoken threats. Tiffany tilted her head, her smile never faltering. So Lauren, what's next? Are you going to redecorate? Throw us all out? Maybe put a big neon sign out front. Mitchell Mansion, owned by Lauren, the forgotten daughter. The mockery in her voice stung, but beneath it I caught a flicker, fear. Fear that the power she'd cultivated for years was slipping. I stood my chair scraping the floor. My heart pounded but my voice was steady. What's next? Respect. What's next? No more treating me like the stray dog you tolerate at the table. What's next is remembering that I kept this family afloat when no one else lifted a finger. My mother bristled. Don't you dare talk to us like that. We raised you, Lauren. We gave you a home. My throat tightened, memories stabbing through me. Me at 15 patching my own torn jeans because Mom said there wasn't money for new clothes. Me at 17, watching Ryan unwrap his third brand new iPhone while I carried a flip phone that barely worked. Me at 19, sliding my savings across the table while Mom muttered, "She owes us after all we've done." You gave me a house, I whispered, and then made me pay for it alone. Grandpa's cane slammed once against the floor, his voice steady despite the tremor in his hands. She's right. And it's time you all faced the truth. You used her. Again and again. Ryan's fists clenched, his face red. This is insane. Tiffany and I are building a family here. You think we're just going to pack up and leave because Lauren suddenly wants recognition? I met his glare. I don't want you to leave. I want you to understand that this house isn't yours to claim. Not yours. Not Tiffany's. And if you can't accept that, then maybe leaving is your only option. Tiffany's laugh was sharp, brittle. You'd regret that, Lauren. Do you know what happens when families start fighting over property? Court battles. Division. Shame. Do you really want the neighbors whispering about how the Mitchells are tearing each other apart? Her words chilled me. Because I knew Tiffany well enough to realize she wasn't bluffing. If she couldn't win here, she'd drag this war into the public eye. I glanced at Grandpa. His gaze held mine, unwavering, as if to say, "Stand your ground. Don't break now." So I did. But in the silence that followed, I realized Tiffany wasn't planning to leave quietly. She was planning her counterattack. The storm outside roared like it was echoing the one inside. Tiffany leaned forward, her eyes glinting like a predator's. Fine, Lauren. If this house is yours, then prove you can keep it. Prove you're strong enough to handle everything that comes with it. Because I'll fight you every step of the way. Her words coiled around me like a snake. And for a heartbeat I felt that familiar ache. The one that whispered I wasn't enough. That I'd never been enough. But then Grandpa's hand covered mine, warm, steady, grounding. You've already proven it, he said softly. You don't need to fight to deserve this. You earned it years ago. I drew a deep breath, letting his words settle into my bones. This isn't about proving anything anymore, I said, my voice carrying across the room. It's about respect. It's about finally being seen. And if any of you think you can keep treating me like I don't belong, you're wrong. I do belong. I always did. Ryan muttered something under his breath, but his eyes darted away. My mother looked pale, torn between her pride and the truth she couldn't deny. My father's shoulders slumped, like the weight of years of silence had finally cracked him. But Tiffany, she didn't flinch. She leaned back, her lips curling into a smile sharp enough to draw blood. You might have the deed, Lauren, but you'll never have their loyalty. Families break when outsiders take control. And whether you like it or not, you're still the outsider. The words stung, but this time I didn't shrink. I stood tall, meeting her venom with calm. Maybe I am the outsider. But sometimes outsiders see the truth clearer than anyone sitting comfortably at the center. The table sat frozen. No more laughter. No more smugness. Just the quiet crumble of illusions. I pushed back my chair, standing over them, my voice steady. This house is mine. Not because of paperwork. Not because of Grandpa's word. Because I bled for it. I sacrificed for it. And I won't let anyone erase that again. My eyes locked on Tiffany. Not even you. Her smile faltered just enough for me to see the crack beneath her armor. And in that moment I knew I'd already won. Later, when the storm had passed and the dishes sat cold and untouched, I walked through the halls of my home. For the first time in years, the walls didn't feel heavy with secrets. They felt mine. And as I closed my bedroom door, a final thought seared into my chest like fire. Revenge isn't loud. It's living well.